Spartan Nation, what's going on? I'm Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Q the Woodshed. Back at you with another Hoops podcast here. This is the Sweet 16 edition of Q the Woodshed here. MSU Hoops. We're getting our basketball hoop-ism on here with the IZZONE here. Another shout out to our homie and co-host Quaffo, the Super Connected Spartan. He's still out there doing Super Connected Spartan things. So it's just the Williams brothers holding it down once again. So here we are, even a little under the weather this week, but we still in here in the building for our nice audience here. We here. So let's get right into it, man. You know, super mad Spartan. Not that much to be mad about overall here back in the Sweet 16. Tom Izzo's 16th time in the Sweet 16. And that opening weekend here, you know, it was a little dicey here and there, at least with that second game. We
haven't played our best basketball yet. Not even close. So we won in the Sweet 16. That's all that matters.
Right. That first game against Bryant opened up a little shaky, but, you know, we took care of business down, you know, throughout the game, down the stretch. Same with New Mexico. You know, they're a tough team. You know, I didn't expect, you know, them to come out like they did and kind of punch us in the face. But, you know, as they say, survive and advance. But, you know, the team's motto is not survive and advance, but win and advance. So that's what they did. But what are your overall thoughts of the opening weekend, sir, of the IZZONE?
First of all, I'm never going to apologize for winning the NCAA tournament.
Right. Not at all. Never.
Never going to apologize. But the game's no. I think there's definitely room for improvement on how we start the games. Our offense needs to improve. We need Jace to be the scorer that he was the second half of the Big Ten season. And a kind of sneaky one that, you know, free throw shooting hasn't been the best the last few games. I feel like before we were automatic. We were only missing one or two a game. Now, like, you know, people who are shooting 80% are shooting like 50% from the line. Like, we got to get that back in order. But overall, I think you saw the strength of this team, you know, strength in numbers, flex its muscle. They kind of cut down rotation slightly, but it just throughout the year, it feels like once Michigan State finds its combination of players, Izzo's done a great job of just riding that out and let them win the game. Because the combination we used to win versus Bryant was a different combination than we used versus New Mexico State. You know, people they kind of did their own things. They did their jobs, but, you know, it's a little bit different. Each team is different. So our flexibility really showed its muscle.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you there. Like I said, when we opened up against Bryant, the first few minutes, you know, it was a little like, oh, okay. MSU needs to calm down a little bit, you know, get into the flow of the game, of their game specifically. And then down the stretch, you know, they just flex their muscle and, you know, they're their usual, you know, 20-plus point, blowout. New Mexico, and again, you know, shout out to them there. They were a tough out. They were a really tough out. You know, they came out hot.
You know what I really thought was, I have to give Richard Pitino a little bit of credit because that game was teetering. They last like 10 minutes in the second half. It was teetering of them getting away from New Mexico State. And I remember it was kind of odd. It was like 3 or 4 minutes left. Like Michigan State calls their last timeout. Like their last timeout. That's really strange for a basketball game. But then I kind of thinking back at the sequences, he was trying to stop runs, stop momentum. Because that's what happens in Michigan State. You get these momentums where, all right, you're going 24-2, and your team and the opponent hasn't scored in 7 minutes. And that's how we were able to extend the lead. So anytime State started getting a little bit of run, Tina was quick to call the timeout and kind of like, okay, cool it down. Let's kind of break the momentum.
Right.
And that helped Mississippi State stay in it because they near the end, you could tell once State kind of took the lead in the second half, they're like, I was like, okay, yeah, we got this. I didn't feel any real pressure
Any
after
pressure,
that point.
right.
Once as we kind of got, I could tell the team had it figured out. Like, okay, well, but again, I just shout out to New Mexico State. They're a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. The game against New Mexico, that was a game where MSU really had flexed their defensive muscle
Yes.
because they stopped them from scoring, I think, with like 9 minutes damn near into the going into halftime, because that first 10 minutes really was about them because they went up by 10 and we really couldn't stop them. But I think like at the 10-minute mark of the first half, they didn't score at all. Maybe right before the first half ended, but they just couldn't buy a bucket, as they say back in the old NBA Jam days. They couldn't buy a bucket. And then that just continued
this
throughout the
team
rest
is
of the
built
game.
on defense.
Right.
And that's been the consistent this year is the defense. When all else
Right.
fails, you know that defense is going to show up, and they've been excellent in the tournament so far.
Right.
Smothering.
Right. I know that I think for both games, I think the high point man for Bryant was, what was his name? Earl Timberlake, I think it was.
Yes.
Who took that elbow in
he
the head.
wasn't. He ended up being the leading scorer, but their leading scorer was the other guy. He took a lot of shots. Just Michigan
Right, I
State
can't
held up
remember.
from like 9 for 25. Bryant was a very tough team too. Like, I guess one thing you can say about the NCAA tournament, at least for our games, is that these teams they were mentally tough, grind teams like Michigan State, and I guess that kind of gave me confidence going in. Like, these teams are versions of Michigan State, and I don't think Michigan State can get out Michigan State, except for probably like Florida, maybe Auburn, but we'll talk about Auburn maybe a little bit later on, possibly as a matchup.
Well, quick side note, I mean, Florida, they got took to the limit by UConn. So I always say that, in a tournament like March Madness and a 1-game single elimination, I mean, anything can happen because, I think for the most part, the top seeds, not all of them, but most of them were pretty tested in that second game, going into this coming up weekend. Florida, like I said, they had a tough test against UConn. I mean, UConn, they had a chance to really take out Florida. And
I was rooting like heck for UConn.
Right. I kind of was too.
I don't care about this is a disclaimer. I'm gonna keep this same energy. I don't care if Michigan State has to play as long as they win the championship.
Right.
And if there's gonna be less potential to play teams that I think Michigan State can lose to, like Florida, Auburn, some of these schools, like, yeah, they can go. I'm all for the easiest path for Michigan State.
Oh yeah, I second that. But they say that the following up game from the first game, that's usually a hard game because the competition gets steeper. So
let's prep time.
overall, the second round of games across the board, were kind of like nail biters to an extent. You had your cup, you had your some blowouts, but
you have to disagree. I feel like there were a lot of blowouts this weekend.
Oh yeah,
there are a lot of teams that they just got washed off the court, and I feel like there weren't. It feels like there are less tight games this year than in the past. It might just
Yeah,
feel that way.
yeah. No, I think I agree with you on that. I mean, overall, you had your upsets in the first round, but the second round, I don't think there were any upsets. I mean, some teams were kind of, when you have like those 4 or 5 matchups, those 8, 9 matchups, I mean, those are pretty much
Yes,
toss up games because really not much difference between a 4 seed, a 5 seed, 8 seed, 9 seed, or, whatever. But
it really is a big difference.
right, right. So, but getting back to Michigan State, yeah, when they cranked up that defense against New Mexico, especially against their star point guard or shooting guard, I think the kid's name was like Donovan
Point
Kent or
guard,
something. Yeah, they held
Donovan
him
Dent,
below his average.
Dent,
Did oh yeah,
really good player.
yeah, they held him to his to maybe like what 14 points for the whole game,
Made him
and
work for it.
yeah, he made him work for it. And you could tell that MSU really clamped on defense because they got a lot of turnovers down the stretch. I
No,
mean,
yeah, second half,
they
yeah, for sure.
they
You
yeah
could see it.
yeah they really had done their thing on getting those turnovers and turning them into buckets. So yeah, that was a really good thing to see.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, you could see the frustration with some of the did I think the second guard, the shooting guard was Washington. Like they were
Yeah,
trying. You could tell they were giving
yeah,
their all, trying to get back in the game. Well, they weren't out of the game. Let's not say that, but you could tell they were spending a lot of energy on offense trying to get some buckets
yeah,
because Jaden Akins, Jeremy Fears, Trey Holloman, they just put guards in hell. They just put them
yeah,
in hell. Like, you gotta
yeah.
get
They
locked. You're gonna
do.
get locked up. You're gonna get hounded, and that's been the consistent theme all season. Our
Yeah,
guards are going to on the perimeter are going to be in your face. They're going to be up in you, and they're going to annoy you all game. And you're going to get it all game because they're going to rotate them. And I
yeah,
didn't mention Jace, but Jace is a decent enough defender. He didn't. He I think he said he didn't play very well on defense. Well, offensively, we know he wasn't himself, but I think he came through when we needed him at the very end.
yeah. And that type of game, that's all that matters. You
Yes,
make those key, those key plays down the stretch, whether if it's on offense or defense. I mean, that's all that that's all that matters. And yeah, he had a tough, he had a really rough game overall, but that last like 90 seconds of the game, he was there when we needed him. The putbacks, getting
yes.
fouled, by the 3 point line and making his free throws. Those are those body blows that really matter in that type of game.
I want to shout out the seniors. Akins and
Yes.
Fiddler came through big. This
Yes.
was the Jaden
Yes.
Akins game. I think he was 7
It
for 11, I
was.
think 16 points. And his defense is always stellar. It's good to see him make the shots and get his due because fans is short for fanatics, and there have been not a lot. There have been a vocal minority on the message boards talking about Jaden Akins and he should shoot less. And I said, no, he needs to keep shooting because overall his career, he's been a good shooter. This year has
Right.
been a little streaky,
Yeah, kind of up. Yeah,
but
up and down.
I will say this. There's been every game that State's been in the last, few weeks when we go on our win streak and, get the Big Ten title. There are moments where he comes up with a big bucket every game.
Yeah.
And I put that in the message boards Sunday morning before we play, saying, he just calm down on Akins. He needs to get his shots. Would I like to see him make more of his shots? For sure. I think he would like to make more of his shots as well. But his
Right.
value goes far deeper than just a shot maker. He's a defender. He's the calming presence. Because, all right, we started off real slow versus Bryant. If it was that Akins gave him a quick 4. He
Mm-hmm.
probably really didn't score too much later into the second half, but beginning of the game, Jace was obvious. He looked very nervous when he shot and got the ball. And, Akins obviously is a calming presence for the team. He's the steady ship. Like, hey, keep on working at
Mm-hmm.
it. And I'm glad he had that
Yep.
good game. So I want to shout him out. And Frankie Fiddler, too, because he came up with some big buckets.
Yes.
Our offense was looking not great.
Right. Right. And Akins, he's battle tested because he's been to the tournament.
Yeah.
And you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but has he been to the tournament every year throughout his college career at MSU?
Sure. Izzo's never missed a tournament. Well, hasn't missed a tournament in like 25 years. So,
Okay. So,
yeah.
yeah, so he
He's
has
he's been in the
experience.
last few runs. He was there last year. He was there for the last 3 years.
So, yeah, so he knows, how to play in the tournament. So he's battle tested. So he's a senior. So he knows how to, get through these type of situations. So Akins is a needed presence on that team. And he is, like you said, he's the, he's the calming force on the team. And yeah, like you said, between him and Frankie Fiddler, and I know you mentioned this earlier in the season when we first started doing our Hoops podcast, is that the unique thing about MSU is that on any given night, you could have so many different people contributing to a win. Like you said, Frankie Fiddler coming off the
Yes.
bench, he was he was one of the primary reasons why we won. Of course, Akins, um, Holloman, he kind of struggled, against New Mexico, but he hit some timely shots down the stretch, played great defense. The
He
bigs
was
are kind of in and out.
he had a good streak. He came in, got us some layups, got us some scores. And
Yep.
kind of before we move on, I want to shout out somebody else who makes contributions that might not come to the box scores. Jeremy Fears.
Oh, yeah.
The way he
Yes.
runs the offense when he's not turnover prone, but he has a few a game. Like, all right, you just need to just slow down a little bit. But the way he pushes the pace, and he's obviously a very cerebral player. And I've been saying this for weeks now. I know he is going to be hated, or is probably already hated in the Big Ten. The way he draws fouls, because if he wasn't on my team, I'm like, I can't stand players like that. And it's not.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just don't like it. But for my team, I love it because he helped get Mexico's center. I think it was number 23. He was kind of killing us on the inside. And he drew a few fouls on him, a couple crafty, like, all right, yeah, you just got your bucket and you run in the middle of the court. I just got the ball. You're running behind me. You better be careful. Oh, you bumped me. Foul. And this,
Oh,
and that's
yeah,
what he does.
that was the
And those
was
small things add up. That was his fourth foul, that guy.
yeah, that was the big who was kind of killing our bigs a little bit. But yeah, he fouled
Yes.
out. Yeah, because of,
Yeah, he did.
Fears.
Yeah, because he got that fourth foul on the kind of ticky tack. Oh, I'm gonna flop a little bit, but Fears, you got to keep you on your toes, and he gets people like that because again, State has their deep at guard, and they're gonna put a defender on you in your face the whole game, and so you get frustrated by that as the game goes on. You have that quick second of I forget who's guarding me. Fears, and he's gonna get you a foul, and it's amazing. Jimmy Fears he doesn't have a known jump shooter, but he gets people in the air so much with his pump fakes in the lane. So he just shout out to Jeremy Fears.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very crafty. He's very crafty. And
he's going to be such a disliked player.
Yeah, the way that he has his pulse on the team as far as running it, it's very good to watch. It's a very great watch. Very great watch. So let's transition, broski, to the Sweet 16. Oh yeah.
So let's
So let's
talk about our opponent.
Get into it, man. The Sweet 16. Upcoming opponent, Ole Miss. MSU is already favored, for you people who do, the little sports betting thing. MSU favored by 3.5. One thing I didn't know until, reading up on the game and some of the talking heads, they were saying this after the game too, is that the guy that coaches Ole Miss, Chris Beard, he coached that
Yeah,
Texas Tech team
the
that
Final
beat us in
Four
the
that beat
Final
us
Four in 2019, I think it was?
19.
Yeah, 2019. Uh, I don't think he has that
Well,
type of team with Ole
he
Miss,
doesn't have
but
that type of team. Let's get this out the way. Ole Miss is good. They
oh
are a
yeah, I
tough
yeah.
team, and tough older teams are always going to be hard to put away.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm still confident in Michigan State. I think it's going to be tough. I think we're going to see a lot of the same thing we see State up and down play, but then eventually we're going to wear them down. We're going to find a combination of guys, and we're going to win the game. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not going to be exactly that simple, but Ole Miss is another team that's very similar to Michigan State, and they don't have our size. They're not a small team or anything, but they don't have any. Think they go like 6'2" through 6'7", 6'8", and so and they don't defensive rebound very well. And like if you don't defensive rebound, the State's get offensive rebounds against second chance points. It's going to be a long day. And if State
Mm-hmm.
finds a little bit of 3-point shooting, a little bit more, production from Jace, I think we win this game. It was not going to be like a blowout or anything, but I think near the end we'll be up enough, 7, 10 points the last, minute of the game, and we'll know
Mm-hmm.
we have victory.
Right, right. I think for this game, it wouldn't surprise me to see MSU get more into the offense quicker, or have a better opening of the game, because I know reading about this upcoming game that some of the things they plan on working on is, of course, their free throws, but getting more into the game from the jump, as opposed to, getting punched in the face and then, like, they gotta
Yeah, down
come
by
back.
10.
Right, right. So, I do expect that Jace will find his rhythm back again. And I think there'll be better, production from the free throw line, because I think, the stakes are definitely higher. So as the stakes get higher, I know Izzo's going to be harping
Sure.
on the things, that they didn't do as well in these first two games. And usually with these Sweet
Because those
16
details
games,
lose you games.
right, right, right. And I was going to say too, with these Sweet 16 games, for the most part, from what I've seen about Michigan State, they do correct their errors, more so, that they made from the opening weekend going to the Sweet 16. I mean, still doesn't mean that they'll still make their share of errors and whatnot, but I think they'll have a better flow, coming into this game, uh, from the Sweet Six. I mean, from last weekend.
And hopefully the nerves won't be there because it was apparent the first few minutes of both games, there were nerves. You could see
Mm-hmm.
how the team was moving. We forget that this team is still relatively young. The core is, this
Yeah.
is Fear's first tournament. This is Jason's first tournament. Akins has been there. Okay.
Holloman's been
Some
there.
guys they've been there before, but you're talking about your main people that have not been in that mode before.
Right.
And so I hopefully they got all out of their system. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't want to come in here and say that I'm just guaranteed a Michigan State victory. There's an avenue in which they can lose this game that could have another stinker offensively, turn the ball over too
Mm-hmm.
much because Miss creates a lot of turnovers. Like I said, they're a tough team. They play defense, and Chris Beard is giving us problems before. I understand it's not the same team, doesn't have the same people on the court, but
Yeah, they can't be
they has to come
underestimated.
with no, they cannot. They has to come with their A game and to win comfortably.
Right, right. So yeah, I think, down the stretch, MSU wins the game, but as fans, we'll be sitting at the edge of our seats and kind of sweating a little
Always
bit here and there. But
all in our feels. I know I've been my feelings during the game. Like it takes out my head, talks to my heart. Like, hey man, I know you kind of going off. Chill. We've seen this team
right,
enough to know that okay, they're gonna turn this around.
right, right, right. So the potential matchup here, for getting to the Elite Eight, of course, it's Auburn and Michigan in the other Sweet 16 game, other matchup here. So, and of course, people have been fantasizing about what if Michigan State meet in the
People,
Elite Eight.
that's not people. That's Michigan fans.
So, what'd you say?
We put them in the trash can twice. We don't. I said, as Michigan fans complaining that when they put them in the trash can twice, we don't need to see them again. I don't care if we see them again. I'm not scared of Michigan. We play.
Right,
If I had to choose, like, okay, who's easier? I think Michigan State's more familiar with Michigan, so that makes that turnaround a little bit easier. Auburn, I
right.
think, presents more problems for Michigan State. I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
Michigan matches up well with our team. I'm not trying to say they're terrible. They're a good team. I just don't think they match up well with Michigan State.
Yeah,
Just like I don't think we match up well with Auburn. But but I want to get a chance to go out there and see. All right, Auburn is supposed to be one of the best teams in the country. Let's see how we stack up. We know Michigan's not one of the best teams in the country. We
right,
beat them twice, and I'm not, and that sounds arrogant, it sounds mean, but whatever. I want to see what State has with a team we haven't seen before. Auburn has
right.
been all year been a national title contender. It's now I want to see if State really measures up to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking to some of my Michigan buddies, and some of them are kind of penciling in. Can't wait to play y'all this weekend. Can't wait to play y'all this weekend. And I'm sure. And I said, hey, are you sure you want that smoke again? Because it wasn't pretty the first
I
couple
mean, you're
times.
talking about we watched them in their own stadium. The people left early, and then senior day we already know what happened. And I'm not and that,
Right.
could Michigan beat us for sure? We could have a crap game. They could have their best game. They could win. It's always a possibility. But again, if they win, cool. If they don't win, I don't care. I want State to win regardless of who the opponent is in front of them.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. But I will say this, if we end up playing Auburn, because we both said we think that MSU can get to the Final Four. And
Yes.
I don't know, because I haven't seen all of Auburn's games. The ones I've seen have been losses, because I saw them, go. I saw them beat Alabama, and I've seen them lose to Alabama. And I think they split with Tennessee in a sense that I think they maybe beat Tennessee in the regular season, then lost to them in their SEC tournament. And the games I saw them in the March Madness, they've been kind of up and down too a little bit. Maybe not as much as us. Maybe we know our opponents have been tougher teams than what they've faced, but I
They've
think
been
that
they've been struggling a little bit near the end of the season, and
yeah,
they're still good.
no, they are, but I don't know, and we've been saying this all season. I don't know if Auburn has played a team like MSU, because to your point, And I'm just talking about our defense
Beat
because,
Florida, I
our
believe.
defense is top notch. And I think that with our defense, I think our defense could really take us to winning a national championship. I mean, I really do. And I
Oh, yeah,
don't
we
think
have that caliber of defense.
yeah. So has Auburn seen a team like Michigan State? I mean, I don't know because I don't know the SEC that well in basketball. I'm gonna go off the
Florida's
few
another
games I've
very good
seen.
team. And Florida's
So and
very,
I
very
yeah
similarly built to Michigan State.
I've heard about Florida. I know a lot of talking heads and whatnot. They pick Florida to win it all. Some pick Duke to win it all. But when I
Duke's been
saw,
rolling.
oh yeah, they have for sure. When I saw Florida and UConn, I'm like, wow. I mean, like I said, Florida really had to dig deep to win that game because they really could have lost that game. I mean, it was
Very,
just a few
very much
plays
so.
here and there, maybe a couple calls that swung their way. So I'm not saying Florida is not good. I mean, they definitely are good. But can Michigan State match up with Florida? I think they can. I mean, just based off the
I
eye
think
test.
I think we can.
So, I think MSU was right there. I mean, I know no one is really picking them to win the national chip, but I wouldn't underestimate, the fighting IZZOs. I wouldn't underestimate the IZZONE. But like you said, let's look let the chips fall where they do and lace them up and see what happens.
I think the reason State doesn't get a lot of national championship love is it's kind of the same reason a lot of people are hesitant about this team to like fully get on board. They're winning in a way that we haven't seen really. Like the team running 10 deep and like for a long time running 10 deep.
Yeah.
And you don't have the traditional primary score. You don't have the traditional. This guy just does this guy does that. You always get a different combination. And State's not the only team built like that, but we also don't have what they consider to be like that star player. I know Jason's our star player, and he's definitely our best offensive scorer. But Auburn has Broom. That's like their guy.
Mm-hmm.
Florida has Slayton Jr. I think it's Slayton Jr. That's the guard with that shot at the end of the game, the 3-point shot. He was kind of
Yeah.
struggling all game. He hits 2 threes. Like, all right, well, they win the game because that's their guy. Duke has Cooper
Mm-hmm.
Flag and a plethora of first round draft picks. And then you go to Michigan State and people kind of go, well, who's y'all guy?
Right.
So that's
Right.
why I think we get the love. So we'll see. And I'm interested to see, like I said, where does State really match up against these teams we heard are tops in the nation. So I feel like we're there, and I would like to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said, it's got to lace them up and see where the chips fall. But MSU can't, you can't underestimate MSU.
No,
And, like you said, that all these other teams, yeah, they have that dude. But, when that dude hits our defense,
yeah, so that there it is. Okay, is that dude going to be able to beat us?
right.
I
What's
would
the
dare
old
say in a
adage?
7-game series, State would be so good in like a series, but 1-game elimination, just never know.
Yeah. What's that old adage when an unstoppable force hits an
These are the move
immovable
objects.
object?
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing I'll add too before we move on is that the Big Ten overall has done pretty good up to this point because I think there's 4 teams in the Big Ten, the Sweet 16.
something like
because it's
that.
MSU,
You have
Michigan, Maryland, and man, I mean, when they hit that big shot, the game-winning shot, yeah. Shout out to
he
Maryland for that,
traveled.
and Purdue.
Well, like, Queen, he
Yeah, I know
definitely
that's
traveled.
been
Minimum three
that's
steps.
been the talk. Yeah, that's
But it's an exciting
the
play.
talk.
Hey, it's not my team.
Right. He did kind of look like Patrick Ewing from back in the day with that.
Yeah, he same move. Hey, it worked. It went in. They didn't call it, so whatever. Shout out to Maryland. I like Maryland. That'd be the only other Big Ten team I'd root for in the tournament. The Crab
Yeah.
Five.
So, yeah, Big Ten doing their thing overall. So, yeah, let's see where the chips fall. I know some of the guys at the Big Ten Network because I watched some of their their follow-up shows. I know some of their, on-air personalities. They have this big dream of having, of course, all of them can't make it to the Final Four, but,
All
you
Big
know,
Ten Final Four. Yeah, no, thank
yeah,
you.
like a 3-team,
I care about
Final
Michigan
Four.
State.
So, and some of the guys at Big Ten Network think Michigan can beat Auburn because of their twin towers.
Size.
Like, well, that's all they really have, to be honest. I mean, their guard play has been kind of up and down. Just from my eye test of watching them play, if it wasn't for those, the twin tower dudes, they wouldn't be in some of those games. But anyway.
No, they won their last game because one of their players who shoots like 20% from the field went for almost 30 points. That's their
Yeah.
moment. That's their best guard play they've
Yeah.
gotten in like 3 months. So,
Yeah.
hey, could they do it again versus Auburn? The statistics would say no, but it's why you play the game.
Right. And I know what, everyone's saying, once this podcast hits, why y'all hating? Why y'all hating? You ain't hating, it's just facts. I mean, just watch.
I
Just
said
watch the game.
we beat them twice.
Right, just watch the games.
They've been Michigan's been up and down squad for the last like 2 months. Their guard play has been abysmal second half of the Big Ten. But they found something in the Big Ten tournament and they carried them to the Sweet 16. Those are facts.
Yes.
That's
so
it.
you
That's
can't hate
all.
on facts.
No, you can't hate. They put them in the trash can twice.
So, if y'all want to, for all the Michigan fans, if you want to add some, some hatred comments, feel free. You're more than happy
Whatever.
to. I've seen them on social media. You're obsessed with us. You're obsessed with us. Like, no. It's just
They only
rivalry
cross the
talk. I
basement
mean,
to
that's how
watch
we talk.
basketball occasionally. They don't care about their basketball team. And it's okay to enjoy your team being good, but just focus on Auburn.
Right.
We got to focus on Ole Miss. All right.
Yes.
Let's move forward.
Let's move forward, which is another fun hoops fact here. The super mad Spartan, he's been on a roll lately, getting some of these answers, but I think this one's going to really stomp him this time.
Okay.
I think I got him this time.
I'm ready for it.
All right, so here it is. Which MSU shooting guard averaged the most points per game throughout their tenure at Michigan State? It's another multiple choice question here for you, young Brian.
Okay.
So, is it Steve Smith, Charlie Bell, or Shannon Brown?
I'm going to go off instinct and say Steve Smith, excuse me.
What's your final answer?
Steve Smith. Steve
Smith? And the survey says, wow, ding, ding, ding. Wow, you on a roll, sir. Wow, man. That's crazy.
I mean, I know
The
Steve Smith
answer
was a
is Steve Smith.
cold scorer back in the day.
Yes, he averaged 18.5 points per game. Shannon Brown was second on this list. He averaged 17.2 points a game. Charlie Bell averaged
Closer than I thought.
11.5 points a game. So, yeah, Steve Smith, yeah. Out of those three, he averaged the most points per game. And another little
That's to the Spartan
added
legends.
fact about Smith, yes, another added fact about Steve Smith when I was doing my research for this question is his senior year at MSU, he averaged, I think, about 25 points a game. And he won, I think, Big Ten Player of the Year that year, which I think his last year was the 90-91 season. So he was there when they still did trimesters at Michigan State. But that was his best year at MSU, his last year. So, yeah, Steve Smith is a legend for sure. Oh, yeah. So, good job there, broski. Next time, we got to think of some harder questions for
On
you.
the roll. I'm just
I'm going to dig deep in the lab.
A Michigan State football, basketball expert. Sometimes.
Yes, you are. I think I may have to do like a MSU Jeopardy type game next time or something. Put you against some of the other MSU sports nerds. See how you do.
We'll see. I ain't that good. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time once again. Wrapping up another cool Hoops podcast here. I think Brian's starting to get a little, starting to get our feet wet here, with our Hoops podcast here, especially doing March Madness. So, I'm going to shout out us. Shout out to the Woodshed doing our transition from football to basketball. So we're doing our thing.
Transition back to football. I know we
back to football.
Spring football practices. So we'll see.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be in there, boy. So, and as usual, follow us on all social media, YouTube, YouTube channel, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure, we love your comments. Keep the comments coming. We definitely want to shout them out, on our podcast here. So having said that, I'm Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Shout out once again to Quaffo, the super connector Spartan. And we are out. Go green.
Go white.